Before we get started, I'm gonna give some love to the sponsor of this video. This video is brought to you by Factor. Factor offers fresh, never frozen meals and a variety of options right to your door. With 34 plus chef prepared, dietitian approved weekly options, there's always something new to try. Keto, calorie smart, vegetarian, vegan options, protein plus. No prep, no mess, ready in 2 minutes so you can get back to eating while you're binging. And this is very convenient for me. If you couldn't tell by now by my unchanged intro song and background for nearly 14 years now, I'm a creature of habit. What can I say? And that tends to translate to my eating habits. I have a routine. I eat pretty much the same thing daily. Look, it works for me, but it doesn't mean I don't enjoy some new flavors and new meals to flirt with the palate. And the fact that for me, grocery shopping is on the list of most unenjoyable things just in life, delivered fresh right to my door, that is just chef's kiss. So go to factor75.com or click the link below and use code JOHNS50 to get yourself 50% off your first Factor box. Also, I do have fish for this review. God, I ironically mentioned that one. So The Little Mermaid is Disney's latest attempt at taking an animated classic and translating it to live action. Cherry on top, let's take the lovable sidekick characters and make them look like what Metallica was singing about in Enter Sandman. Now, funny post-viewing experience this, because when I got out of the movie, I was like, yeah, that was cute. It was surprisingly enjoyable. But on my drive home, when I was getting my thoughts together for my video, the little nitpicks started. They started to stack, because there are a lot of them. I'm not gonna list them all in here, but there are some worth mentioning. But I'm gonna go ahead and list out what I liked about this movie, because I'm gonna give you some sugar before the spice. All right, what I liked, Halle Bailey, I thought she was great as Ariel. She's sweet, she's endearing, has that curiosity, albeit that naive curiosity. She's adorable, and most importantly, has an amazing voice. But it's not just her. Prince Eric, Jonah Hauer-King, I believe I'm pronouncing his name correctly, I thought he was great as well. More so in here than the anime, because the animated movie is like, hey, that's the pretty guy you gotta kiss in 3 days, get at it. This movie actually did a good job at fleshing Prince Eric out. We talk about his hopes and dreams. We find out a little more about him. So I was glad to see that just for him as a character, but that also really worked in me feeling their connection. And that's the heart and soul of the movie. It's the nucleus. It's the core of this entire experience is the love between these two characters. The animated Little Mermaid is a complete and total classic, but you got to admit, by the end, you kind of had that feeling of like, oh yeah, they're infatuated in that shotgun wedding at the end of a weekend in Vegas kind of way. It's still 3 days in this movie, so it still happens fast, but I saw the sparks there. I got the chemistry. So when I say I have nitpicks for this movie and they're there, I absolutely totally mean it. But what I liked being them and their chemistry, that's a huge part of the film. So it's what brings the movie up does outweigh what brings the movie down. But what brings the movie down is there. It's actually a perfect embodiment of the phrase death by 1,000 cuts. I feel like anybody who doesn't like this movie, they got there by 1,000 cuts. 1,000 little nitpicks that just stacked up by the end and it was too much. I get it. I'll start with the more glaring things and work my way down to, well, Jeremy's just bitching. Again, not gonna be everything, but the most glaring thing is the fact that animation just has a style and a punch to it. It has a stylistic way about it that I think The Little Mermaid just lends itself to. Not that this movie never looked animated. There are some moments Under the Sea looked about as live action as that Mary Poppins Penguin segment. But you do see that in the Under the Sea musical segment. Man, original Under the Sea segment, that was like a cup of coffee in the morning. That got you going. Under the Sea segment here kind of gave me that feeling of, that was pretty good karaoke. Example in this segment when Sebastian's listing off the marine life that plays instruments. In the animation, you see the marine life playing the instruments, because why would you not? In this live action version, when he's listing off the various marine life that plays instruments, you see these big sea turtles walking. It's just one long shot of sea turtles walking. Because why would you not show sea turtles walking while listing off marine life that plays instruments? Makes sense? It's like if the animated Under the Sea felt like a cup of coffee to get you going in the morning. This live action Under the Sea kind of felt like taking a piss in the morning. It's not waking me up. It's just kind of, it's routine. We're just getting through it to get to the next thing. And they seem like little nitpicks, and maybe they are, but to me, they're details that change the world and the characters in the world. Like Ursula not hiding the fact that she says pathetic when she's singing about people who come to her for help.
Pathetic.
And outwardly just saying pathetic.
Pathetic.
Changes both Ursula and Ariel. Ursula because she's less crafty, and Ariel's a bit more of an idiot because she wasn't like, did you just call people pathetic? Wait, are you calling me pathetic? Your weird little skeleton dungeon in the bottom of the sea was kind of a red flag, but now I'm leaving. Bye. That's why I talk about a few of these 1,000 cuts. Also, in a world of Disney playing it safe, Ursula doesn't turn mer people into the little seaweed monsters anymore. They just die. Which I imagine for the original animation, it was Disney being like, we can't kill people. We'll just turn them into little seaweed slaves on Ursula's bathroom floor. Because that's less dark. But no, it's far worse. I don't even care what anyone says. That scared the piss out of me when I was a kid. Actually, I haven't even talked about Melissa McCarthy as Ursula. Melissa McCarthy as Ursula was the thing I was most concerned about in here. Because I heard that, I was like, I feel like I know what I'm getting. I'm getting Melissa McCarthy, but she looks like Ursula. But she's still Melissa McCarthy. Being Melissa McCarthy. To her credit, 99% of the time, she was legit playing Ursula. She did not annoy me. There was one scene I can think of in particular where I was like, that was a Melissa McCarthy moment. It was a moment that just existed to remind you that you're watching a family comedy. Now, Ursula's, I've always found her funny, but sinister funny. She does a pretty good job at that, but this one scene, I was like, well, that was just Melissa McCarthy funny. It felt out of place. It felt weird. This wasn't in the original, but we're gonna put it in here. It's like, but it feels shoehorned and feels weird. It feels out of place. Like example, the new musical segments in here that were not in the original, they're made up for here, but it feels like it was made up. It feels like music that was made up over 3 decades later that doesn't really fit with the music in the movie. There's a synergy with the musical score, the Little Mermaid musical segments. It all works together. It works in tandem to create some audible musical experience that feels consistent. And okay, we have these new songs that come in that don't feel consistent. Doesn't feel like the same world. Could have cut a couple of those out, could have saved yourself, 10, 15 minutes of this 50 minute longer than the original runtime. Is 50 minutes longer? Did it need to be? No. To its credit, it does use some of that time to flesh out Eric, and like I said before, you feel that chemistry between Eric and Ariel, and that's part of that extra time. Was it 50 minutes of that? Not at all. It didn't need to be 50 minutes longer. It's about 50 minutes anyway. If you take end credits out of the equation, the fact that these end credits are longer than the old end credits, probably 45. Still, fact remains. This movie felt like it was at war with itself a few times, just in terms of timing and pacing within a scene. It's like they feel like they have to have the dialogue in this scene from the animated original, but it doesn't flow as well. Weird thing is at the very end, I'd heard this and I was like, come on, no, yep, there's no wedding at the end. I know, spoiler for the end, but you know the story of Little Mermaid. But, at the end of Little Mermaid, there's this wedding. They have to stop the wedding. It's not a wedding in here. It's an engagement party, and that just feels different. Granted, the real clock you're up against is the sun. When the sun goes down, we lose. But a wedding is such a stonewall that it works in tandem with that concept of the sun going down. It really feels like 0 hour. It's like, when the day ends, we lose. We have to stop the wedding, this forever bond that Eric's going to enter that we just can't let him enter. And that's the bummer for this video, because I started the video off like, oh yeah, I liked Ariel and Eric, and I really felt that chemistry. I thought Halle Bailey was great, and Also, let me bitch and nitpick about these things, but my nitpicks went on for so much longer in the video. Some of them are bigger than others, absolutely, but I maintain the charm of what did work seems so small, but it is the core of the film. It's Ariel and Eric, and if you can stick that landing, you can have a sweet, enjoyable film for families that's just covered by a lot of annoyances. But I'll say it's a good time, no alcohol required. At matinee price. A huge bummer that the cook segment, Les Poissons, not in here. What a great segment from the animated Little Mermaid. And if you're looking at it in a world where Disney stories should have a lesson, it's a great lesson, a great example of perspective. We see it as a kitchen, we see it as Food Network. Sebastian would see it as a house of horrors. They cut it out, Disney live action, they play it safer than the animations did. Maybe they felt like, well, we made all the marine life look real, so now it looks like we're killing them. We're killing their people. But I mean, it shows Scuttle in the movie eats a fish. No one cares. Flounder's like, Scuttle, you eat my people. We're still friends. I guess I don't care. So, it's weird. A little inconsistent there. All right, so The Little Mermaid. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Whatever you thought, comment below. Let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.